Everybody, it's Annette from the Art of Intuition, and today we are going to talk about why we resist nature, and why we resist the energetic flow of nature, which is so important to our journey. So I want to get into that today. In honor, I am actually not wearing an Endara today. I'm wearing a crystal that I got from somewhere. I don't remember. Might have got it from King's Dominion, actually. Got to get me more into the flow on this. For whatever reason, this is the one I wanted today, which is kind of strange. So, okay, here we go. Why do we not like the flow of nature? What is it about the flow of nature that we resist? And a lot of people will watch this and go, but I love nature. I like to go out in nature. I don't resist the flow of nature. The flow of Gaia, the flow of nature, is our natural flow. Now, we do a lot of videos on this channel about going from human normal to our soul, which is a natural state. It's kind of from normal to natural. That is really what we do through Ascension. We get rid of all the human normal stuff and do, because we're doing very non-normal stuff when we go into Ascension and our journey into Ascension and the choices we make, to a more natural state, which is kind of the heartbeat of Gaia. You'll hear people say it as the heartbeat of Gaia. One of the biggest things we can do, and one of the things you're going to be drawn to do, is to get outside, get on nature, get around water, get around mountains. Eventually a lot of us have to move from the very, go to more rural areas just because there's more nature. We have to get out of the cities because it's too many people and it's too much on our field that we can't expand the way we need to expand. And to get around nature, we have to be able to be part of it, because there is a natural abundance to nature that we have to learn to embody. We have to actually become part of it. We have to become in sync with it. We have to beat it at that heartbeat, in a sense. But there's a lot of resistance to that because we don't like some of the stuff in nature, and we see nature sometimes as our human, we see it as a hindrance. We want to build something and then we can't build it because of this, or we have to do some kind of remediation to be able to build this. So we almost have over time built that into our human DNA, and it's the way it's us against nature. All the catastrophes that our humans are going to call catastrophes, all the natural things that happen that kill off humans. We look at that stuff as it's kind of us against them, and that is a very human thing. Human is always going to be, it's us against them. But the more we come to embrace nature, we have to kind of even go deeper than that. That is one thing that wants to keep us separated from it, and that it's dangerous. You hear that all the time too. It's dangerous, you don't want to be out in nature. It's dangerous, the whole Lyme disease, which I usually don't talk a lot about the different human things we say, but there's a lot of things that have gotten created to keep us out of nature. Now, when I say created, in a human consciousness, these things are true, but when we look at it from a higher consciousness, we can understand that a lot of the things that people will label as one thing are just part of our ascension process. So you never want to take someone's experience away from them, in a sense. Sometimes you can't placate the human experience, but you can have compassion for the human experience and understand that that's where they are. That's where this person is in their ascension cycle. They haven't gotten to these things yet, so they see it as different. But there's a lot of things that kind of keep us away from nature. And when I say we don't like the rhythm of it, we don't like the sacrifices. And I'm going to say it's a sacrifice because that's how our human's going to see it. I'm going to use another word here that I don't normally use, but these are some of the human words that will come up. Cruelty in nature. We don't like to, there's a big theme in the energy of nature is, one, there's enough for everybody. There's enough for everyone. Everyone has enough. Nature will always take care. Gaia will always make sure it has enough to go around for everyone. There's no shortage of anything in nature. There's an abundance energy in nature. There's also a part where there's a sacrifice for the whole. We don't so much like that energy as humans. We don't like the sacrificial part of nature. When you see a baby bird fall out of its nest, and that doesn't feel, that brings up a lot of sadness. That brings up a lot of, it can bring up a lot of emotions for us. When we see things suffering, it brings up a lot of emotion. It brings up a lot of sadness. We do have a connection to animals, but I do feel we have a disconnect to nature as a whole, but we can have connections with animals, right? But the disconnect to nature in a whole can go into some of the things we don't like to see. Humans don't like to see certain things. We don't like to see certain parts of the population going through things that we feel are, I'm going to use more human words in this one, unjust, or we don't feel like that's fair, that's cruel. These are things we'll say because we don't want to see those things. In nature, there is a higher energetic frequency there is a sacrifice to push everyone else forward. Everything has to have a cadence to it to push the next group forward, to push everyone forward at the same time and not really leave anybody behind. We don't subscribe to that so much in our human beliefs. We become very discordant with the frequency of nature because of that. We don't like to see things go in that direction. We don't like someone to have to sacrifice for the whole. But in general, that's what we've always been doing. But as a human, we don't see it like that. There's always going to be certain things that are playing out energetically in the human realities that from a higher perspective, you see it is still a frequency of nature. Certain people will push humanity forward because them leaving will push the rest of humanity forward. The act they do will bring up a lot of anger and victim energy to come out, to push everybody forward. We still have that going on. The energetics of nature is still there. We don't recognize it as that. We fight against that. We don't like to see that stuff. So the minute we see and it's not a sacrifice for the whole in a human sense. There's a sacrificial lamb in the human sense. There's a martyr, in a human sense. Those are that's kind of a distorted sacrificial energy. It's distorted Christ energy. It's a distorted form of that. The flow of nature it's to push him forward. There's a higher reason things happen in nature. There's a higher frequency going on there that this will now happen so this can go forward. To continue to evolve. The earth itself is evolving. It is going to continue to evolve. People worry so much about what we do to nature. Nature will evolve. Nature will, if it gets tired of us taking too much from nature, it will put the kibosh on that. Nature will always win because it's a higher frequency than the human frequency. You can't win against it. You'll never win against it. It will always come back to get you in the bum. I promise you that, in a sense. That sounds kind of doomsday, and I don't want it to sound like that. But just in when we think about it from those terms, it's always going to win because it's a higher frequency going on. Our human frequency has a distortion of that. It doesn't like the way things play out. It wants to prevent them. It wants to blame. It wants to get all this stuff going on. Whereas in nature, when these things happen, there's no blame. Nature doesn't blame of how things happen. It's how it's supposed to happen. Now, that also means we honor everything we see. And we honor nature, which we have lost a lot of that. And the more you connect with the nature, the more you'll start to honor it in a much more sacred place. Where if I know my cat outside killed a bird the other day. I guess it got on the porch, and the cat was on the porch, and it just I couldn't find the bird. I was like, where is this bird at? I know I got feathers everywhere. Where's the bird? And I found him. And, whereas maybe 10 years ago, I would have chucked him in the trash and not thought anything else of it. These are kind of the tests our universe will give us to see, can you, because we feel so deeply. And a lot of people will think, because we have a detachment in so many different phases of ascension, when we do detach from human realities and we don't have the emotion around things so we can see the higher purpose in things, that we're very cold. We have no feeling. We don't feel anything, which is the farthest from the truth. We feel deeply. We just feel it from a different space. We feel it from a different energy. I can't throw that dead bird in the trash. I have to take him and put him in a really pretty place outside. I'll do that with anything I find that's either dying or gone, expired in a sense. I will take it and give it an honor the body in a sense. I'll take it and put it. I had a bird that fell out of the nest onto the street, and I scooped him up and I took him into this really pretty meadow where he could pass away there, and because everyone deserves to be honored. And that is something we lose when we get into our human consciousness of what really honor is. Honor is not so much remembering. There's a distortion that honor is always remembering. It's honoring the energy. It's honoring what they are, but it's not carrying it forward. Remembering is, in a sense, it can carry forward, and there's a distortion to, memories, because we remember them a certain way. We will kind of, there's a different energy to it. Honor has a much higher vibration than remembering does. Though we do remember our natural existence, and there's a purification to that word that will come in. Human remembering and higher consciousness remembering are kind of two different things. There's a different connotation to the word. Human is kind of like an elephant never forgets. You're like, humans, we don't forget either. We will just drag shit up from 15 years ago and bring it in again, and bring it in again, and continue to bring it in, to continue to recreate the same things. But when we learn to honor, it's just a totally different energy of what goes on, because everything does deserve that. Everything does deserve to be honored, and you're honoring their journey more so than honoring the story. You honor their journey, you honored what they are. And you might find when you're in this phase of honoring and learning to honor, you might find a lot of dead animals everywhere. I know I've found a lot of that this year. I'll just be walking, there's be one right in the middle of the road, and I'm like, well, I don't really want to see this get pancaked for the next 3 weeks while I'm walking here, so I'm gonna go, I'm gonna move these things out and put them in a prettier space. Even you might even find yourself doing it with insects. I've gotten to where if I can catch insects and get them outside, I get them outside, where they can, even if they also are on their way out, in a sense. Everything deserves to be in the light. No reason to die in a basement. That's not, there's not a lot of honor there, of honoring their purpose, and honoring that there was a purpose to it. Honoring puts a purpose on things, and nature does have a purpose to everything it does. Our human can't understand the purpose because we get so bogged down on the act, we don't understand the purpose. And the same thing plays out in our human realities. We get so bogged down on what happens, we don't understand the purpose of why it had to happen from a higher energetic level. So you will find when you're in these phases, and you're trying to bond with nature, you might have a lot of those distortions come up to clear. A lot of sadness. A lot of people get very sad when they got in nature. One, it's such a higher vibration, it pulls up all of anything that's kind of trying to get out and out. It'll pull it up. If you get really not feeling well, a lot of people set on the earth to kind of pull it out. It will balance you out. But we might have a lot of story about why we don't get down to the energetics of why we don't like it. Or the story we have around it. So I don't want to make this one super long. I just wanted to get on and kind of frame that a little bit. And if you are in a sense where you're seeing a lot of nature around you, and you'll get a deeper connection to it. You will get a much deeper connection to it, and you'll start to understand the cadence of it and why it has to be the way it has to be. Okay, keep practicing the art of intuition.